For part 4, we'll listen to Admiral Ace Lyons, which definitely needs no introduction.
Thank you all for coming today. And I've got to thank you, Charles. You took my closing line. But that's right on target. You have trouble hearing me? Let me say, when I first heard of Benghazi, my initial reaction was, this is un-American. This is not us. This is not the way we respond. And, when I watched the press conference yesterday, I was not, to say I was disappointed would be an understatement. Because Chairman Gowdy is not a stenographer, and he's not a tape recorder. He was there to make findings and conclusions. He had the information, he copped out, which is consistent that we've seen with all our congressional leadership. We don't have any. Now, you've heard from Claire and everybody, Benghazi never had to happen. Libya never had to happen. As you heard, our good friend Chuck Kubik, who was involved in the truce negotiations. And here we have a president who received the Nobel Peace Prize for giving a speech. But he couldn't give 3 days to avoid tens of thousands of lives being lost when Gaddafi was ready to abdicate. So you have to wonder who stepped in there and prevented that. Now I want to go over a few things. And for you reporters, I want you to put yourself in a different position. I want you all to take a position that you're with Ambassador Stevens on his trip to Benghazi. And you as Americans, what you would expect from us on how to respond. Now, the security situation in Benghazi was out of control. You had at least 10 militias running wild. The government in Tripoli said, we have no control. Yet, all of Ambassador Stevens' requests for increased security were not only denied, but security assets we had in country were drawn down. Now, does this make any sense? Of course, the excuse that's thrown out is that this didn't fit the political agenda and might have impacted adversely on President Obama's re-election campaign. Well, I don't buy any of that. Who in the hell is going to know if I put 6 more Department of State security people on Ambassador Stevens' team in Tripoli and Benghazi? Who? Who is going to know if I delay the departure of Lieutenant Colonel Andy Wood's special security team from departing Tripoli on 16 August to 16 September? Nobody. This is all nonsense. So, here we go. On the 29th of August, the Tripoli government, the deputy prime minister, puts out an alert. He puts Benghazi on a special alert status because of the out-of-control security situation. Bells should have went off everywhere. I got to tell you, as a former commander-in-chief, if it's my area of responsibility, I'm not even waiting. I'm pre-positioning forces. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's what's expected of me. There's no reason why F-16 aircraft weren't moved from Aviano to Sigonella or to Souda Bay Creek, either places. We had a 130-man Marine Force recon team at Sigonella. We had the Marine Fast teams at Rota. We had the Commanders and Extremis Force in Croatia. We had assets. Now, what you don't find in the report, I've got to say, we have competent military leaders. And I got to tell you, I am sure that they probably would have moved to pre-positioned forces. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They were prevented. I don't know that. But my gut tells me we have professional people. They would have done that. So we know we had, that's almost 2 weeks advance notice of the situation. We had 10 days advance notice there was going to be attacks in Benghazi. 10 days. And this is verified by our GRS wonderful fighters at the CIA Annex. They signed that notification each and every day. And then they took it down, and regretfully, they shredded the damn thing. I wish I could show it to you, but nonetheless, their word is 24-karat gold. Now, there's one other thing I want to throw out. I talked to Lieutenant Colonel Andy Wood, and I said, Andy, did you ever participate in the escape plans? And he said, yes, I did. I said, well, run through for me what's the key elements. If they came under attack, you would hierarchy the ambassador into the safe house. And you unlocked the barred windows from the inside. And outside that window was to be a car. You got the ambassador out in the car over to the CIA annex. Sound reasonable? What happened the night of the attack? Guess what? No car. Whose responsibility was it to have that car there? I don't know if the Gowdy report identifies that. I haven't read the 800 blivet pages yet, but I will. And you know, there's one other thing I want to mention. When that special mission compound was opened, the Department of State did an internal security analysis. And the bottom line was, beef up the security or close it. You know what happened. So, you want me to wrap it up, I take it. All right. Well, so here we have the day of the attack. And I can just, you're there. You're with Stevens in that compound. And you're told you're waiting for the Americans to come rescue you. You can't believe it. Nobody's coming. And I got to say, Tonto and the guys were the only ones that really could have saved the ambassador had they been allowed to go. Not delaying them 30 minutes cost 2 lives. And you have to, you can't walk this back. It is what it is. And also, I've got to say that the response that came out was really less than helpful. Now, we know that Secretary Panetta gave the orders to deploy forces, not to preposition, but to deploy forces. It's in the report. Thanks to Stephanie pointing that out to me.
I actually read the report.
All under 800 pages. Now, who countermanded those orders, in effect? We know Jeremy Bash, the Chief of Staff of the Department of Defense, at 1910 that evening, sent an email or called the State Department and said, we're spinning up as we talk. Where do we get the cross-border authority? He's still waiting for that answer. So this is more than just dereliction of duty. It's more than incompetence. We just don't do this to Americans. Now, I want to just touch on one other thing. Everybody involved in this operation has had to sign non-disclosure agreements, which are in effect today. That's why we haven't been able to get anybody to come forward and talk about this. You have to ask yourself, why? Where was the president the night of this attack? Well, the one place you know he was not was in the Situation Room, because if he was there, you'd have that information. You'd have the photograph, just like you had the photographs yesterday of him in the Situation Room with the terrorist attack in Istanbul. So who was running the show? The bottom line is really the one responsible was Hillary Clinton, who put all the obstacles up to prevent the movement of the forces. And I got to tell you, as a commander, I can preposition forces anywhere in my area of responsibility. I don't need authority from Washington to do that. That never happened. And one last thing I want to know. We haven't been able to talk to those drone controllers, but I've often wondered, in our coverage of the CIA annex, did that photography pick up the mortars? The mortars, which then, in my view, what should have happened is that drone should have been crashed right into the mortar, and we'd have 2 less casualties. And I think, before Roger falls out of the chair, I better stop here and we open it up to your questions.